Okay, here we go. Welcome everyone to chapter 38 of Lessons in Tanya. We just started chapter 38 last week, and we're in Lessons in Tanya where we talk about Hasidus, Chabad Hasidus, and we gear it towards non-Jews. So when you come across something, we ask questions or try to probe how this all relates into the non-Jewish sphere. Um, we've been talking about kavana, which is like intent, I guess would be a good way to translate it. Uh, so doing a mitzvah, doing a commandment, but then also having the proper intent of doing the mitzvah. So unfortunately, it's been misunderstood, usually from a non-Jewish perspective, that Jews and Judaism are not about the intent or internalizing the Torah, but rather just getting the commandments done and on an external level and getting to heaven that way. And that's actually very false. When I started to study Torah and Judaism decades ago, I wanted to learn for myself if that was the case, and I was somewhat surprised that a lot of the things I was taught about Judaism from a Christian perspective was a lie. And that at least in Chabad Hasidus, but just about every single um, walk within Judaism, they are about kavana and intent and be going deeper into the Torah and its commandments. Um, so it was unfortunate that, well, I shouldn't say unfortunate, it was fortunate actually, but it was hard that I had to come and face that lie, literally called the Iker term of lies of your forefathers. Uh, I'm not speaking ill of my parents because they were lied to as well. Um, but it's a lie that we have to face, which is let's not accept things axiomatically, culturally, but let's look and see what the truth really is. So, um, nevertheless, here we go. Yet, nevertheless, it has been said that prayer or any other blessing said without kavana, that intent is like a body without a soul. Um, this comparison of the words of prayer to a body and a kavana and of kavana to its soul means as follows: just as all the creatures of this world possessing a body and soul, meaning the nephesh of every living being, the ruach of all flesh, and the neshama of all that has the breath of life in its nostrils among all living creatures, God animates them all and creates them constantly out of nothingness by the light and vitality which he bestows upon them, i.e., upon the soul, both the soul and the body, and in support of his contention that the body too has a godly life force aside from the soul. The Alter Rebbe adds parenthetically, for even the material body, the goof, and furthermore, even the very stones and earth, which are absolutely inanimate, lacking even that sign of life found in plant life, i.e., growth, even the totally inanimate being has within it light and vitality from God so that it should not revert to naught and nothingness as it was before created. So everything, and this is something that is, I don't know if it's unique to Chabad Hasidus, but it's from my perspective, it's been eye-opening and realizing that Hashem literally is everywhere. Hashem is not over there and we're not over here, and we don't have to have an intermediary to bridge that gap or whatever you want to call it. The real truth is Hashem already is everywhere. It's from our perspective that he is concealed. And unfortunately, when we have the concept, or if we have the concept that Hashem is over there and that we are over here, the sense of self, one can manipulate that not only is it a wrong way of thinking, but one can manipulate that and say, oh, you need an intermediary, you need shituf, you need some way to fill the gap because you're in such a lowly state. Here, I'm going to help you. And a lot of times that intermediary can become so powerful that the people actually end up worshiping the intermediary rather than the creator. Um, so when you start to have this consciousness, you start to realize Hashem isn't far away. It's up to me to create this uh, revelation, to have this experience. And even furthermore, it's not me, it's actually Hashem. Everything is actually Hashem. That's like the second stage. And when we start to realize that, then we do not need um, an intermediary. We don't need to worship an intermediary. Does that mean you don't need a rabbi to help you sometimes? Or no, that's just part of the process. But the thing is, you don't need you should not be worshiping that intermediary. Heaven forbid. Then it becomes what's called a stumbling block. Not only is it wrong, but it becomes a stumbling block. Then you can't progress past the point, similar to the Nachash, the Nehushtan that Moshe made. It was really nice when Moshe made it, and a lot of people were healed from it. But what happened was, generations later, people started to worship the Nehushtan, or that Moshe made, and it became an avodah zarah. It actually became the opposite of what it was made for. And King Hezekiah had to destroy it, which was a good thing. So if you have this concept, then you know you can reveal godliness everywhere for you, for the world around you, and you don't have to travel to a major city. You don't have to do something external apart from just simple Torah. Further, in the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe explains that every existing being would instantly revert to absolute nothingness were it not for God's godly life force constantly creating it and keeping it in existence. Thus, even the inanimate beings contain a life force, and so surely do the bodies of living creatures. The Alter Rebbe now concludes the sentence begun earlier. Just as in all the creatures of this world possessing a body and a soul, there is nevertheless, i.e., despite the fact that body and soul are alike and that they both contain a divine life force, there is nevertheless no comparison or similarity between the quality of the light and the life force radiating in the body and the light and life force radiating in the neshama, which is the soul of every living thing. It is axiomatic that the physical is incomparable to the spiritual, so much that the philosophers agree that the evolution of material from spiritual is the most radical form of creation ex nihilo. The body, being physical, is thus incomparable to the soul, which is spiritual. This difference between them is obviously due to the difference between the respective divine life forces creating them. The Alter Rebbe will now explain in what way these life forces differ. The difference is surely not one of varying degrees of revelation of the divine life force, that in the body this life force is in concealment, while in the soul it stands revealed. In this respect, body and soul are alike. The veil of klipat noga, which obscures godliness in this physical world as a whole, envelops both body and soul. Therefore, just as the body does not attest to the fact that it is the product of divine creative power, so does the soul of living creatures belie the fact that its life-giving properties are godly. Thus, the divine life force is concealed equally in body and soul. The difference between them lies rather in the intensity of godly life force that each contains. In the body, the life force is contracted so that the body is a physical being. And Russell, you talk about this. Uh, physicality is just like condensed godliness, right? It's kind of like light or matter is in physics is condensed energy, right?
Mhm.
Uh, in the soul, the life force is freely bestowed, and the soul is therefore a spiritual, life-giving being. In the Alter Rebbe's words, true in terms of the concealment of countenance, i.e., the degree to which the countenance, the inner aspect of the divine life force, is concealed, the light, i.e., the divine creative life force, is the same in both body and soul. It is concealed equally in both. The garments in which the light hides, conceals, and clothes itself are identical in body and soul. I got to read that again. True in terms of the concealment of countenance. The Hester Panim. The concealment of countenance, i.e., the degree to which the countenance, the inner aspect of the divine life force, is concealed, the light, i.e., the divine creative life force, is the same in both body and soul. It is concealed equally in both. Okay. The garment in which the light hides, conceals, and clothes itself are identical in body and soul. For both body and soul of this world, where throughout the world and all its creatures, spiritual as well as physical, the light and life force issuing from the breath of God's mouth are equally concealed. By concealment of the countenance and by the descent of the life force from level to level by means of numerous powerful tsumim contractions through the various levels constituting the chain-like succession of worlds, finally clothing itself in klipat noga in order to give life to the totality of this material world. Now, I'm curious why he said Klipat Noga gives life to the totality of this material world, because we learned earlier that there's Klipat Noga and then there's the Shlishot Gimel Klipot Tameot, or the Shlishot Klipot Tameot, the three completely impure Klipot. Um, the Alter Rebbe has here described the process whereby the divine life force descends from its lofty, godly origin to the point where it creates and gives life to physical matter, i.e., from the breath of God's mouth. A reference to Malchut of the world of Atzilut, to the world of material Asiyah. He defines various steps in the process, descent from level to level, numerous tzimtzumim and powerful tzimtzumim, and four, clothing itself in klipat noga. Let us examine them individually. So this is actually very interesting. If you're curious about this whole down chain and these words, let's listen up because it's very powerful explanations here, or overview, I should say. Um, let's examine them individually. Descent from level to level. To reach down to the level of Asiya, the world of action, the life force must first descend from the world of Atzilus, from Atzilus to Berea, and then to Yetzira, and finally to Asiya. So there's the world of Atzilu, the world of emanation, where everything is truly one with Hashem, but it's emanating. And then that emanates to the world of Berea, the world of creation. And so it's like that. You get that bubble in your head, that pop of hey, I got an idea. Let's start. But I don't know what that idea is. That would be from the world of Berea, and then you have the world of Yetzira, where that bubble starts to form. That hey, what is that idea? Oh, I know what it is. I'm gonna build a chicken coop, and you get the idea of where you want to put it and how big is it going to be and stuff like that. That's like the world of Yetzira. And then finally, you have the world of Asiya, and the world of Asiya is the world of action. That's where you're going to start building the chicken coop physically in this world, and you're going to start to actually implement it. Within each of these worlds, there are many levels, and the life force must descend through them all before reaching the next lowest world. Numerous tzimtzumim or contractions. Each descent of the life force entails a contraction of the light and life force, lessening its intensity. But descent and tzimtzumim alone, no matter how numerous, will still not make possible the creation of a physical being. The divine life force would still be at a level where anything created by it would be a spiritual being, albeit of a lower grade of spirituality. The creation of physical matter presupposes another condition, vis-a-vis the powerful Tsimtsuming, i.e. Tsimtsuming, which entirely changes the character of the life force and is not only its intensity to the point where it can create and give life to material beings. But even this type of Tsimtsum cannot produce a world like ours, in which it is not apparent that God is the creator, and where, in fact, God's creations can be used in defiance of his will. This is achieved only when the life force clothes itself in Klipat Noga, and thereby also in the other klipot, as will soon be explained. So he's starting to answer my question about the shlishot klipot tameo, the three completely impure klipot that does not contain what would be called good in them, like the unclean animals would be derived from that. They're like the cleanup crew in the world. They harvest up all the improperly used life force, I guess, that Hashem gives humanity. And when we don't do Torah and mitzvahs, we give it to the backside. We give it to that side, and they're the cleanup crew. As defined in the first chapter of the Tanya, Klipat Noga is a mixture of good and evil. Therefore, whatever receives its godly life force through the veil of Klipat Noga, in which the life force is clothed, can be utilized either for a holy purpose in serving God's will through performing a mitzvah, or for an unholy purpose in violating his will through a sinful act. So an orange would be something that is derived from Klipat Noga, and you can use it for the sake of heaven, or you can do bad things with it, whatever. You have to, food is a pretty good example. Are you wasting your food? Are you killing something for food, but then wasting it? Those are like some simple examples to me. In summary, through many descents and powerful Tsimtsumim, the godly life force clothes itself in Klipat Noga and thereby gives life to all the creatures of this world. The Alter Rebbe now distinguishes between permitted and forbidden objects. The former receive their life force directly through Klipat Noga. Here we go. So this is what I was talking about humans. We make the decision on this Klipat Noga. For the latter to receive the godly life force clothed in Klipat Noga, it must first descend still further to be veiled in the three completely impure klipot. Okay. So just as a reference or a backup, things that are permissible are from Klipat Noga. Things that are not permissible, it starts with a P though, prohibited are from the Gimel Klipot Tameo, the three completely impure Klipot. Those are, like for instance, pork or unclean animals and things of that nature are from the three completely impure Klipot. This means all things of this world that are permitted and pure, which receive their vitality directly via Klipat Noga, and from and through Klipat Noga, evolve through Klipat Noga evolve. 2. All impure forbidden things which derive their vitality from the three impure klipot, yet their vitality too stems from Noga, since it is the intermediary level between holiness. So when you give over the Noga from the klipa, you're feeding the backside. You're feeding things that you're not supposed to feed, where all life originates in the three impure klipot, as mentioned above. So, like an analogy I talk about a lot, and I talked about a lot in the spring, is ants. Like when you buy food. You've worked hard and you've have all this food, and this food is from Klipot no God. It's permissible. If you don't properly take care of it, if you just waste it and you throw it around, ants are going to come into your house, and ants are from these impure Klipot. You're going to now feed the backside. You're going to now feed the impure forces. It's Hashem's cleanup crew, so to speak. Um, and when you feed them, that's how evil is created, by your act of doing those things. So it's kind of like they were made to do that, but you were not. Human beings were not made to improperly use the Noga. We were created to rescue the sparks in the Noga. So we're made to remove the klipa from the Noga, and then uplift the sparks that are contained in it. This is Adamic. This is the whole thing. Now, Yisrael has a mitzvah. They are commanded to do this. They are the Navy SEALs of the nations when it comes to spirituality. They are commanded to do these things, and they will receive a greater portion, an inheritance for doing those things. Uh, they have the bittul necessary to do those things as commanded as well. Um, Not saying non-Jews can't have bittul, but that is the design of Yisrael. Um, we can conclude from this that there is no difference between the life force of the soul and that of the body in terms of revelation and concealment. Since both body and soul are of this world, the life force in them is equally concealed in the veil of Klipot Noga. Nevertheless, the godly illumination, meaning the flow of vitality by which God illumines and gives life to all creatures of this world, by way of this garment, i.e., the Klipot Noga, is not the same for them all. And the difference between the life force of the various creatures is in terms of contraction and expansion. In some creatures, the life force is constricted and limited, while in others, it finds a broader expression. The difference between concealment Hester of the life force and its contraction Tzimtzum can be expressed as follows. Suppose, this is going to be interesting. Suppose one hangs a thick curtain on a window to screen out the light. The light entering the room through the curtain will be of an entirely different quality. In fact, it might be described as a mere echo of the original light. This is concealment. If, on the other hand, one boards up the window and leaves only a tiny hole by which the light may pass, the light shining through the hole through greatly restricted though greatly restricted, will be the same qualitatively as the original light. This is what is meant by contraction. That's an interesting analogy. So it is too with regard to our subject. Klipot Noga is the thick curtain which veils the divine creative power equally from all creatures of this world. This curtained light varies, however, from one creature to another in degree of contraction. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to enumerate these differences. In the physical body of a living creature and in an absolutely inanimate being, such as stones or earth, in which no life or spirituality are apparent, since they lack even the power of growth, the ray of the divine creative power is in a state of unparalleled contraction. So minute is the life force within these inanimate beings that they lack even the power of growth. In vegetation, the ray is not so greatly contracted. The phenomenon of growth indicates the presence of something more than mere physical matter. Some degree of spirituality is in evidence. In general, all things in this world are divided into four categories: mineral, vegetable, animal, and man. Literally the speaker. So, medaber. Dom, domem, someach, high, medaber. So, speaking souls, living souls, vegetable souls, and mineral souls. Corresponding, so these are important categories. Corresponding to the four letters of the divine name, the tetragrammaton from which they are derived. Each of these four categories receives its vitality from one of the four letters. Now, just as the illumination and the flow of vitality found in the mineral and vegetable categories bears no comparison or likeness to the illumination and flow of vitality clothed in animals and man, since in the latter two categories it is clearly apparent that they are alive. Although in all four categories the divine animating light is the same in terms of the concealment of countenance, i.e., in all four categories the inner aspect of the divine light is concealed equally, and in all four categories the light is clothed in the same garment, namely the garment, i.e., veil of Noga. Hence, in none of these categories is it apparent that their vitality is actually godliness. Yet, despite this equality, the vitality of inanimate beings and plants is incomparable to that of animals and man. Similarly, there is no comparison or likeness between the illumination and flow of the blessed Ein Sof light, meaning the inner aspect of his will, without concealment of countenance and with no garment whatsoever, as it radiates in and is clothed within the mitzvot, consisting of action, whether actual action or mitzvot performed through speech and verbal articulation, which is regarded as actual action, as mentioned above, when performed without kavana. The illumination of the Ein Sof found in these mitzvot bears no likeness or comparison with the superior illumination and flow of the blessed Ein Sof light, radiating and clothed in the kavana of the mitzvah of the action. Meaning, man's intention to attach himself to Hashem, to God, by fulfilling his will as expressed in the mitzvahs, since he and his will are one. Similarly, with regard to Kavana and prayer, the recital of Shema and its blessings, and in other blessings, where through one's Kavana in them, he attaches his thought and intellect to God. It is not that attachment of man's thought and intellect to God is intrinsically superior to attachment through the actual, practical fulfillment of the mitzvah dependent on action. For as will be explained further on the unity with God achieved by performance of mitzvot as described in the same terms as the unity of husband and wife, kiddushin, as we say in the blessing preceding the fulfillment of a mitzvah. God, who sanctified us, kidshanu, with his commandments. Wow. Okay. He's going into a lot of new territory for me. I'm trying my best to like hop on what he's talking about. And obviously, the quality of man's attachment to God through kavana cannot surpass that of performance of mitzvot, which possesses the God-given ability to unite man with him. Where then lies the superiority of kavana over actual performance of mitzvot, described earlier as paralleling the superiority of soul over body? The Alter Rebbe now goes on to say that, like the actual mitzvot themselves, man's kavana in performing them expresses God's will. It is the illumination of divine will contained in kavana that is superior. In the Alter Rebbe's words, rather, kavana is superior because this too is God's will. that one attach himself to him by intellect and thought, and by the kavana of the active mitzvot, and by one's kavana during the recital of Shema and in prayer and other blessings. And the illumination of the supernal will that radiates and is clothed in this kavana is infinitely greater and loftier than the illumination of the supernal will that radiates and is clothed in the performance of the mitzvot themselves, in action and speech without kavana. This superiority of kavana is similar to the superiority of the light of the soul over the body, which is a vessel and garment for the soul, just as the body of the actual mitzvah is a vessel and the garment for its kavana. For this reason, then, the performance of a mitzvah is likened to a body and its kavana to a soul. Okay, it's starting to come together for me a little bit, but man, it's probably going to take a few years for me to get it all. True, although both the actual mitzvah and its kavana contain the same supernal will, which is perfectly simple, i.e., changeless and indivisible, God forbid, so that it cannot be said that kavana contains more of God's will and performance contains less, and this will is united with God's essence and being in perfect unity. Nevertheless, the illumination of the supernal will in one's soul is different in terms of its contraction and expansion. So
Okay, James, can we
yeah.
hold on just a little bit?
Can we stop? Is that what you're saying? And like talk it over?
You're you're going real fast, and we have to. I don't know. My brain needs to stop and think about this for a
Yeah,
minute.
I was actually stopping there. I'm 100% in agreement with you. So let me get over what I think it is. He's
Okay.
saying mitzvot and kavana, they have the same light, but they are shining in a more deeper way or not in such a deeper way. I think that's kind of what he's saying. And he's using the concept of concealment rather than contraction. What do you guys think?
This would be the concealment of consciousness.
I
Did
think
you?
what he I
Okay.
think what he's saying is you're still using the same light. When you perform a mitzvah, you're using the same light, but when you're doing it with kavana, you're removing the concealment. And I might even have that flipped. But
Or
might
vice versa?
yeah, I might have that like flipped. Like I said, I'm gonna have to reread it again. Like on my own time, it's probably gonna take me years to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like he went over. I don't know why he's dumping this all on us in the one chapter. Like the way the Alter Rebbe usually works is like he gives us little chunks and then he backs up and he
Hmm.
gives little chunks. I feel like he's just dumped a whole bucket of cold water on my head or something.
Well, so is it saying that when you're doing a mitzvah, you're not doing that where everybody sees you? You're doing that between you and Hashem?
I think it's the opposite. I think he's saying
That's opposite.
the mitzvah is like you're showing the world and it's on that level. But the kavana is what the kavana illumination is a state of expansion and revelation in one's soul. Here, clearly, one's thought and intellect are attached to God. In other words, it's revealment rather than keeping it concealed. So a mitzvah shines the same light, just as like a rock. You do a mitzvah. Oh, congratulations! The rock is doing a mitzvah. But as a human being, you have the power to reveal. And you do that with kavana. So internally, using your brain, for instance, and your thought and intellect, when you're doing it with kavana, you are revealing the godliness. It's no longer being concealed from you like as through light through a garment. You're not changing, or you're seeing the light more purely, so to speak. That's kind of what I'm gathering. So you can't attack. I think what he's saying is like you're not going to be fully in revelation of this Ein Sof light that he talked about. Um, the illumination of the Ein Sof light found in these mitzvot. So everything's contained with God's light, but it's contracted and contracted and contracted. The illumination of the Ein Sof found in these mitzvot bear no likeness or comparison with the superior illumination and flow of the blessed Ein Sof light, radiating and clothed in the kavana of the mitzvah in action. And I think this is kind of like the key, the countenance, the concealment of the countenance. And this is why he's bringing this whole thing in, because the countenance is deeply related to the Ein Sof, the Or Ein Sof. So I'm going to go like on a limb here, and let's just say you have some guy, not Jewish, whatever. He doesn't know about the Torah, and he's doing mitzvot, but he doesn't have the intention of doing them, and he doesn't care about them or know about them, and he's just doing them. He's having kids. He's immersing in a mikvah. He's like taking a shower, and he bathes in the sea, when he goes swimming. But is he revealing godliness? Um, and I think what they're trying to say is a Yisrael, however, is someone who's he's doing all the mitzvahs, but he's doing them with kavana, and they're doing them with kavana, and he's revealing that godly light through the mitzvahs that he's doing. In other words, why is it that a Yisrael, somebody sees a Jew, say somebody's a Zionist Christian, and they see Jews doing mitzvot with kavana, and they're like, wow, they kind of know that person's holy. Just leave the Jews alone. Let them do what they need to do. They're holy people. But why is it when a non-Jew who's doing the same things, it doesn't come across as holy at all? Like, for instance, there are Native Americans and Indians. They wear fringes on the corners of their garments. Why do we not consider those things holy? But when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs, and Yisrael doing them, it's considered holy. Like Davy Crockett had the fringes on the corners of his garment and the like. So, I'm like I said, I'm going out on a limb with this. These are just kind of like some of the ideas I'm coming up with. But that's I don't know, that's what I'm thinking of. Like I said, I'm gonna have to refine this. I'm gonna have to read this over and over again throughout my life, and maybe God willing, one day I'll be able to understand it better. Um, I don't know. Is it what I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. Alrighty. I'm gonna keep on going.
Okay, so Cabana would be involving or
Intent.
one directs they would direct their thoughts and emotions towards a specific goal or purpose.
Right. That makes sense.
particularly to in the context of prayer and mitzvot, I guess you would concentrate more, or you would so you would
Keep in
put
mind that it's a mitzvah.
yeah, and you're not just giving some money to the man on the corner. You're using it as a
It's tzedakah.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Teresa. And the more you understand, the more you study tzedakah, the more you read Torah
Mm-hmm.
on tzedakah, you know the panemius of tzedakah, the inner aspects of tzedakah. You know, you go to Mike's classes and he's got a class on tzedakah, and you study that, or you study one of the sages writes a book on tzedakah, and you read all about tzedakah, and you see all the things that tzedakah does. When you have those things in mind, I'm not saying you got everything in mind, but yeah, I think what it is, it's you're uniting, you're revealing that light in your thoughts, in your brain, um, at least. And that is revealing godliness because you're starting to see now, in your mind's eye at least, how Hashem works using tzedakah. And you're not just giving a guy a quarter on the street anymore. You're literally giving him life. You're you're a vessel of life and chesed. Um,
Right. And then you take that and you apply it to your prayer.
mhm.
You're not just reciting the prayers out of the prayer book anymore. You're putting kavana to them, and they're becoming alive, and you're
Uniting more.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
100%. You
They
got it.
become real. Yeah. Same
Yeah,
way with any of your religious approaches
right. Yeah,
becomes real to you.
yeah, 100%. And you said any religious approaches. My mind went exactly to Akum, Eved Kohavim Umazalot. That's one of the reasons why non-Jews today are not considered totally Akum. They're not considered completely idolaters, is because they don't have the kavana of true idolatry. They don't really know what it is that they're doing. And I don't think they would want to do those things anymore if they really understood it, you know.
Well, I was using that in reference to doing the feast.
Oh yeah.
You put a little bit more into doing Rosh Hashanah. It's a little
Yeah.
bit comes a little bit more
Oh,
meaningful, or to Yom
100%.
Kippur, or even to Tish B'av, and we're going to Tu V'Shah here in a couple of days, and so it all has a new meaning to it. But
100%. You're exactly right. And yeah, kavana with intent, or kavana is intent. And so when you do mitzvahs with kavana, and I think that's one of the big things. We labeled this class as Hasidus for non-Jews, but that's like one of the big things with non-Jews in particular. Like we want to know, we have the desire to learn all these things, at least non-Jews that are interested in Torah. Let's get into the panemiut. Let's get into these inner aspects so we can have the kavana. Uh, or I should say, even though we have the kavana, but maybe we want to know like the kavana. We want to know that deeper intent. So we can focus on those things. So when we are doing the mitzvahs, we are uniting with more and more of that revelation of that godly light. Um, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do these classes, is because I don't want to just have somebody say, oh, you can give tzedakah. Well, great. I appreciate that. I've known that. But what are the deeper aspects of giving charity, of tzedakah and the like? And I want to have more kavana. I want to have more intent with the things that I'm doing, so I can teach it to my kids. And um, matter of fact, from a non-Jewish perspective, this might actually be very, even more so important. Why? Because it's not a mitzvah for us. But if we understand the reasons of the mitzvah, then we are now shaykh and attached to it. And I think this is a really big deal, particularly when it comes to avodah zarah. Like, why don't we want to do avodah zarah? What is Hashem? What is the knowledge of Hashem? It says that the knowledge of Hashem is going to cover the is going to cover everybody like the waters cover the seedbed. Well, if that's going to happen, then let's keep learning these deeper aspects of Torah. Um, and so it's very important to have kavana. And two, just reading these things, it really puts the kibosh on the notion that Jews don't have kavana, that they're just um, they believe they're saved by works of the law and the things that we've heard growing up that are not true. Matter of fact, quite the opposite, right? Because the Alter Rebbe here is saying that kavana is highly important. Um, so, well, let's see here. I guess I wonder if we should maybe do this right here. We'll read this lessons in Tanya and we'll probably call it a night. What do you think, Teresa?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be a good spot.
Good. You're my barometer. So I appreciate that. In the performance of a mitzvah, this illumination is in the state of contraction. Okay, here we go. He's actually explaining it. In the performance of
Course.
a mitzvah, so you're going to give tzedakah. Yeah, right? This is like the common theme throughout all our classes. In the performance of a mitzvah, so we're just talking about the action of the mitzvah, of the commandment itself. Let's say it's tzedakah, okay? We're going to give tzedakah, but we're not thinking about kavana yet. This illumination is in a state of contraction. One's attachment to God's will is not readily apparent. In the kavana, however, the illumination is in a state of expansion. So I had that wrong earlier. Is in a state of expansion. Oh, and revelation in one's soul. Here, clearly, one's thought and intellect are attached to God. In the note which follows, the Alter Rebbe traces the difference between mitzvot and their kavana to their source in the supernal sefirot, the sephirotic structure, the supernal sefirot. This is going to be really cool. Each sephira consists of an or, a light, and a keli, a vessel, or receptacle for the or. Okay, the kalim, these vessels of the sephirot, have a well-defined characteristics within the Sephirotic structure. One is Chokhmah, another is Bina, and so forth. There's generally 10 of them. The Orot, the lights, however, are godly energy, simple in the sense that they are devoid of definition, unlimited, and not restricted to any specific character. Restated, this means that kalim are contracted and limited, while orot are expanded and unconfined. The very traits that differentiate between mitzvot and their kavana. Okay. We're going to stop there. We'll probably reread this again, see if we kind of remember what we were talking about. I barely even understood it while we were going through it. So good luck to me next week.
Good luck to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Well, it's interesting in the book, that first paragraph in the performance is just regular. It's just there.
okay.
But when you turn the page, it is like it's has been highlighted because it's all gray
Okay.
behind it.
Here in
Does that-
the online, it's considered the lessons in Tanya commentary.
Mhm. So that's what, but I was wondering if the commentary is maybe has a little bit more emphasis because of the way it's highlighted here in the book.
Maybe.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. And I also want to say, I'm wondering if they got like, I'm just going to say it maybe a little lazy because the bold, usually in our previous classes, in the
Yeah.
previous chapters, the Alter Rebbe's Tanya
19.
in the Hebrew,
It's usually in the center of your
it's
Bible.
usually, yeah, it's like bolded. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
bolded over here. And I'm almost wondering if they got like, they didn't have time. Shabbos was getting ready to start, and they,
Well, this chapter seems to have more commentary in it than the other ones,
yeah, that's true. And
because
I've
it's
noticed when they
a
have more
lot to explain.
exactly is there's like just a ton more to explain. And
Mhm.
I am barely hanging on. I don't even know if I am hanging on actually. I think I'm a little lost, but that's good. That means I'm like an empty vessel. I've
Yeah.
got things to learn. And so that's good. Um, God willing, I'll grow into this knowledge here. Well, thank you all, and thank you for the blessings for our newborn. And
Yes. Oh, that's exciting.
yes, thank you. I appreciate to share it with you guys. Thank you guys for listening to my little spiel.
I-
It's like I got this bound up energy to share with everybody.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. We love
Uh,
it.
James, are you going to
Thank you,
post that
James.
about her name and everything?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yep. I've got this, and I'll post it on Facebook and maybe put some pictures to it
Oh,
as
okay.
well. So, and yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' comments. And this isn't even everything. This is just a little bit, I get. And but I didn't want to ramble like I am right now. So,
Yeah, you have the right. You have the right to ramble. Good,
I
Danielle.
appreciate it.
Oh,
Well, thanks for listening to the ramble. So
Yeah.
God bless you guys. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate your friendship and being able to share my joy of our newborn with you, and then just our love of Torah together. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you,
So much.
James.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Ernestine. And thank you, Russell and Teresa, Mercy, Dixie, and Lisa. Thank you so much.